By mistake, I got mad. I'm sorry, I got mad.
You wake up in the middle of the night, you think you hear something, you take your gun, you go downstairs to the front door and you shoot the neighbor.
Yeah.
You're half asleep. I know.
You're gonna be very close.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Remember all the shit that realtors were giving us?
I'll have to make it.
Oh, you know, they're sending people out, instead of mailers, don't fall for this realtor.
Oh, you do.
Mhm.
Illinois Realtors. Government Affairs Director for Illinois Realtors is congratulating me, so we can work together now.
Why is that?
Because of reelection.
Oh.
I'll right on that one.
Do they know who you are?
Did before.
Just a little bit. Little.
I don't know. I don't want to go to the police academy.
No, what's San Francisco?
I don't know. I just don't want to go. I got kind of bored. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you didn't, you said you didn't.
Wayne.
That I'm bored. He's bored. Why is?
It's not befitting of a land baron.
Yeah.
Well, I should have you do my taxes. You would have a laugh. You would laugh. We have no money. We have zero money left over. There's nothing left. We're poor.
Just because you could find one.
We're done. We're poor. I have no money. I have zero money. Zero.
Reals. Tycoon, tycoon.
I'm like a farmer. I have land and no money.
Right.
All right, the time is 7 PM. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pulaski?
Here.
Trustee Delapenna?
Here.
Trustee Domke? Trustee Forsythe?
Here.
Trustee Lanisa? Here. Trustee Burkowski?
Here.
Oh.
We have a quorum. We'll move on to presentation of the prepared agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Next, we'll move into the swearing in of our firefighter paramedic, David Vaughn. I'll invite up our fire chief, Tim Schmelzer, to give an introduction.
Mr. Mayor, Board, thank you very much. Evening. This is truly the best part of my job. I'd like to introduce our newest member to the Roselle Fire Department. David, if you could please step up here. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our newest firefighter paramedic, David Vaughn. David started with the Roselle as contract paramedic in January of 2024, and without hesitation, filled a civilian paramedic position in January of 2025. David has been in the fire service since 2019, working as a volunteer firefighter and working with the private ambulance service since 2020. David currently works part-time for the North Park Fire Protection District, where he serves as a lieutenant paramedic. David is a certified paramedic and holds many certifications such as advanced firefighter, fire service vehicle operator, fire apparatus engineer, hazardous materials operations, rope operations, and vehicle and machinery technician. I look forward to David continuing to grow with our organization and feel he will be a great addition to the Roselle Fire Department. David is joined this evening by his fiancee Maggie and their daughter Luna. Please join me in welcoming David to the Roselle family. And if I could ask the Mayor Pulaski to swear in David to his new position as a full-time firefighter paramedic.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been appointed to the position of firefighter paramedic in the village of Roselle, in the counties of DuPage and Cook, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of firefighter paramedic according to the best of my ability. Congratulations and welcome. Always exciting when we can promote from within, and those are why we have those different roles and opportunities to bring people and introduce them to our department. And it's always a beautiful family affair, and we like to think that we're a large family, and so we welcome you. And to those that love you and support you, our job here is to make sure that we give them the right equipment, the right training, to make sure he comes home every night to you guys safe and sound. So we'll continue to uphold that promise on our end. So I would imagine as it is also tradition that there's probably some treats and some celebration going on in the firehouse. So if you'd like to make your way over there to celebrate this joyous occasion and skip the meeting, you're more than welcome to, but we'll continue on with our agenda tonight. So thank you for joining us.
Bye, Dave.
Unfortunately, board members are required to stay behind.
Had the treats here one time.
Should have them here.
Continue on with our agenda, we have village board public comment. Anyone wish to provide a comment on a topic or an agenda item may address the village board in person during the public comment and public hearing segments of the village board agenda. Comments only limited to 3 minutes per person, and the village board also adopted the IML civility pledge. Is there anyone present today that wishes to address the board at this time? Yep, if so, just please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Ford, 620 Charlemagne. I sent in a email to Liz in regards to 2 topics we were hoping to address today, or at least talk about. The first one is the street Roselle Road, which I guess is also Bloomingdale Road, from Walnut south to Lake Street. My house is right on the road, but the trucks as of late have been really shaking the house. The vibrations are, we work from home, so I know a lot of people maybe aren't there during the day, so they don't see it as much. But the vibration and the noise is pretty consistent and steady. I'd say 4 or 5 times a day, the house shakes pretty good. And then occasionally, if the trucks are empty, the booms are pretty loud. And I also have a bunch of people here from our HOA. So a lot of people came. And I also went up and down Roselle Road and tried to talk to some neighbors. I don't see them present, so maybe I didn't do a good job, but I just thought I would try and address it. And I tried to do all the research I could to see what the village could do to help us. The speed is 35 miles an hour down that street, which is actually seems slow for a 4-lane. It is a 1 mile with no stop. So especially coming northbound, the cars really accelerate. They tend to build up speed. And I obviously didn't do a study, but I drove it a few times before the meeting, and it's 55 probably is the average speed there, just to keep up with traffic. And and the cars are quiet. It's the trucks that seem to be the problem. So we're here to ask the village if they can help us enforce the 35 or somehow put a stop in between that 1 mile mark, so that way they have to build speed up again. Just something, because right now it's pretty loud, and I'm worried about my house and the vibrations.
So as luck has it, I live on Roselle Road myself. My home was built over 100 years old. So talk about shaking. Every truck, car, train, plane that comes over or near the house shakes. So
You could do, right.
what I would say is, as you may or may not already know, Rosa Road is actually a county, road, which means they're responsible for maintenance and, the kind of regulations that are set on it. So we have no jurisdiction or control over setting a speed limit or setting in traffic control measures, whether it's a stoplight or a stop sign. That's all stuff that would have to be evaluated by the county. With that being said, the county, would be willing to conduct a speed study based on what we have reached out to them on. Whether or not that would determine anything, we can't say. At one point, it was 40 miles per hour, and they did drop to 35. It would be incredibly rare to have that drop to 30 for a 4-lane road. So I think that's just something that may or may not be realistic. As far as allowing different speed limits for trucks versus passenger vehicles, that's something that is not currently in place in Illinois that we're aware of, and it's something that would be very difficult to monitor and even do and be dangerous potentially for traffic. As far as the traffic signal, we'd have to ask the county to do a study. They'd be willing to do that study. But I would say I would not find it probably very likely that an all-way stop would be able to be put in, given the width of that, and whatnot. And the traffic counts may not warrant a stoplight, but we would definitely be willing to work with the county. We have a very good relationship with them. With that being said, part of the noise is potentially related to the condition of the street. And so we did get word back from the county that it is in the longer term outlook for the county to resurface it. There's no hard or firm commitment on when that would be done. But once it's done, a lot of the things like manhole covers that are slightly ajar and things like that that can increase vibration or just noise from trucks would hopefully be able to be reduced. But it's something that we're working with them to kind of understand when that would be completed. As far as, I guess, from a public works perspective, I think I found my notes. Is there anything else that I missed or am not covering from that side? From an enforcement perspective, I'll turn over to Chief Barretto, because we do have the ability to do enforcement on the stretch that is within our corporate boundaries. So,
Yeah, so I could talk about the commercial motor vehicle team that we put out. So far this quarter, they've made 44 stops for overweight trucks. So we are doing that. Southern part of Roselle Road is a little more difficult for us to set up to do radar. We do a lot more moving radar, which is going up and down. However, we were looking, the DC and I went out there today. There's a U drive right across from Forest, 733 South Roselle Road. Anybody know that person? I'd love to talk to them because we could sit there and that would actually work really well.
Be amazing. And yeah, from the policing standpoint, I did, when I looked, I saw that the village also instituted some type of a truck overweight or something where the village would actually, trucks would pay a fee to run through the village. And once the hub put in, so I've been here for 8 years, and once they put the hub in over there, that's when the truck traffic really started to be a problem.
yeah. Well, so we don't charge a fee for them to run through the town, but rather there's a fine if they are driving with overloaded in certain roads and whatnot. And so we've designated areas where they can only be of a certain weight limit. And so that's where we find them, but there's no like licensing or stuff like that for them to come through town.
So I'd be curious to see it, in the year so far, how many trucks have gone through that program? Is it significant?
So I think what you're talking about is like to get a permit to ride on. So yeah.
Well, I'm in the business, so I understand what a truck
Sure.
can weigh and what its max load is.
Sure.
But then when it's overweight, it does pay fees to go ahead and be on the road.
Yeah, so as far as how much money in permitting fees, I don't have that off the top of my head. But I do know we have a car, actually it's a Ford F-150, that we are doing just truck enforcement out of. So it's got portable scales on the back. We're probably going to get a couple more scales this year. And so they've been doing really good work with it. We had a special detail out when all the plates expired. If you're in the business, we had a special detail out. So we are diligent in that. We also recently were able to grab a truck scale and get permission to use a truck scale that is in the northern part of town. Generally, we go south into Bloomingdale for it. So we have been working and hitting the overweight trucks significantly year over year.
Okay, that's great to know, because 35 is a fair speed limit. It's just.
Yeah, if you're abiding by it.
55 or 60. And I think if the trucks were going slower when they hit those bumps or whatever the roads are, the conditions, it still wouldn't be as bad because they're not going so fast. So please, I'm asking if you could somehow, even me trying to drive on there just to stay with traffic, I have to go 45 to keep myself safe. So if we can, that's where I thought if a stop if somewhere we could stop that mile-long gradual growth of speed from Lake Street to Walnut, because within town, obviously it goes to 30 and then there's stops along the way. You can't gather enough speed, but if you're saying there's nothing to be done at Forest or, what about one of the signs that tells you how fast you're going? So
We'd have to work with the county on that because again, it's county jurisdiction. So we have to work with them. They have the right of way on that. So we'd have to, a lot of these things, speed limit, controlled intersection with stop signs, stop lights, or even doing that, we need to talk to the county. But we have a great relationship with the county. And so this has allowed us to have some, initial dialogue. So I think we're going to continue to have conversations and see where things kind of
is
land
there
with them.
anything we can do to help?
At this point, no, but we have your contact information, and once I think we get a more formal response as far as data collected from the county and whatnot, then we'll keep you in the loop, and you can disperse that to your residents, or your neighbors rather, and then from there, we can kind of decide what the right course of action is, so. Appreciate it. If you have another public, I'm gonna have to ask you to come up to the podium, though, to state your name for the record, sir, sorry.
I sent an email, there were 2 issues. So do I come back or are you going to address it?
Souped up vehicles and motorcycles at all hours. I'm wondering if that's ever
You state your name,
And could
please.
you state your name for the record, sir? Thank you so much. I'll turn over to Chief Barretto.
Yeah, so we do enforcement on Rosa Road, like I said. Motorcycles, if they're going fast, it is difficult to catch them. Well, you still can't stop them. So we could have a talk offline about sitting on Roselle Road and where we were looking to sit, and maybe you could help me out talking to some of the neighbors. Oh. Sure.
Sure, go ahead, thank you.
HOA, which is, this is again, Mike Ford, Village of the Ponds HOA on Charlemagne Circle. And we're here with the president and the trustee for our board. But we were hoping, we're just coming to you hat in hand, basically. We know the original agreement between the village and the HOA was that we would salt and plow our own streets. And we understand why, because there's nowhere to put the snow. So we do that ourselves currently, but we're asking if we can redraft that agreement or somehow renegotiate it, where at least we would be salted with the rest of the village streets.
So that's something that we would have to discuss. We have a number of HOAs throughout the village, and so a conversation with you has implications beyond just your cul-de-sac and whatnot from that regard. A lot of times what we have found is a lot of these HOAs have wanted that set up because of this, a lot of them being cul-de-sacs, they're at the bottom of our list. And so because of that kind of service, they rather it be done quicker or on their own time versus it being subjected to kind of the village's prioritization of that. So, I think there's also, we would have to, I'm sure costs have gone up for you guys, which is why this is something you'd like to seek out the village's support on. Costs are going up for us as well. And so we have to kind of weigh in what that would look like from a total benefits perspective. So.
Another thing, I guess, and I did find where the definition of your cul-de-sac is where the street begins and ends at the same place. But we are a circle. It's not necessarily a cul-de-sac. So, and I thought there's a differentiation between the two, and cul-de-sacs are done last. I was hoping us being a circle would.
So the reason we do it is based on the prioritization of traffic. So it's closed to just you that use it. It's not through traffic. And so that's why we're trying to make sure we salt. We always do primary routes first and foremost that are to major hubs like the metro station, schools, things of that nature. And then we start to go from those down to arterial streets and collector streets and whatnot. And so those are just the last priority because it's really, and I hate to be so blunt, but it's just for those that live on that street versus people who may be traveling in between to other destinations. So we try to go from largest impact to smallest impact. So that wouldn't necessarily change anything from that side.
Just to be clear, it is salting only. We wouldn't want you to plow, so either. We were just requesting salting because the plowing is a problem. So
Okay. We'll talk about it later tonight to see if that's something that we'll bring back, but we'll follow up with a lot of these questions that you've had, that you've sent us. So appreciate it. All right, thank you. Is there any other members of the public that wish to address the board at this time? Record show none. We'll move on to officials and staff reports. Under my report tonight, I just want to invite everyone out May 30th for our grand opening of the plaza area. We're gonna have a full day of activities starting at 4 p.m. We're gonna rededicate with the Sister Cities Association, the Peace Pole that was reinstalled, followed by at 4:30, we're gonna rededicate former Mayor Gail Smolinski's sign that was replaced as a part of that. At 5 p.m., the Roselle Arts and Culture Foundation is gonna unveil the first responders art installation that's going on the side of PD. And then followed by that, we're gonna do the grand ribbon cutting for the plaza. So a fun day, and that will all be capped off by the reimagining of the Rose Fest by the Roselle Lions Club, kicking off immediately after that with a concert for 2 nights with food, drinks, and entertainment leading up to the Rose Parade on Sunday, June 1st. So it's gonna be the start of summer season Roselle, so you don't wanna miss it. So mark your calendars for that. I'd also, this is a special meeting, I guess, in some regards, but it is our last meeting for our village clerk in her official capacity as clerk. We hope it's not her last village board meeting altogether, but you won't have to take minutes. So we want to just thank you for your service and whatnot, and wish you well in your next endeavors. So. And then with that being the case, our next board meeting will start a new session of the village board. So we'll be swearing in myself, our 3 trustees that were reelected, as well as our new village clerk, Jennifer Theodore. So that will be at 6:30 p.m. on May 12th, right here at Village Hall. So with that being the case, that's all I have under my report. Village trustees? Mr. Domke?
I do want to make one comment to the audience here that we all use the Roselle Road, so we're not immune to what you're talking about. I come off from Forest, heading to Village Hall tonight. And it's the most dangerous when there's not many cars, because then they're really rolling along. When there's a rush hour, it's a little safer in a way. I had 6 cars pass me today, and I promise you I was only doing 35, Chief, really. And 6 passed me between Forest and Maple. So they're cranking along, and I know it's really reassuring when I see you guys over by the funeral home when you're parked there doing the radar. So, and that's where they're coming. That's when they're really tanking it too, right there. So anyway, but also wanted to thank the trustees and the Public Works and our fire department for the safe Bachfest parade that we had on Saturday. And we had a ball, and next year will be the 5th annual one. So we're gonna have something really special that year. But thank everybody for coming out and doing that. It was really a good time. And we are the international sister city now, having Lotz in Germany as a new sister city.
Thank you so much. Trustee Prokowski?
2 things. One, in a few days on May 1st, Flags for Roselle subscriptions will be closing. So if you haven't gotten yours in yet, make sure you do that. And 2, are we going to also kind of discuss at the end more of the public comment? Because I just had a question. You don't have to answer it now, but are any of the trucks engaging in like engine braking, or is it just the vibrations? And if they are, is engine braking already kind of regulated on Roselle Road? And again, I just wanted that out there, and we can talk about it later.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any other trustee comments tonight? See none, village clerk.
So I want to thank Ernie, Lydia, and Phil for volunteering to help with the Green Roselle barrel pickups this weekend, the residents that ordered and are helping to conserve rainwater in Roselle, and to Upcycle Products for continuing to be an excellent partner for the community. Do look out for the Green Roselle Market returning to 40 South Prospect Street on Saturday, May 10th. And because this is my last meeting, I do just want to say one quick thing to everybody. One, thank you so much for the opportunity. I was never involved in government before, and this was a huge learning experience for me. I think when you're outside, it can seem like all of these funds, where do they go? What are people doing? And I can tell you from being on this side and sitting in closed sessions with these wonderful people, we have really bright, really caring, really thoughtful people running this village. Thank you so much to the village staff, and thank you so much to the village board. I'm not going to Hawaii like I'd like to after all of this. I will still be a resident in Roselle for a long time to come. And I feel like this community is in really good hands. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Village attorney, village administrator,
No report.
and treasurer's report. Unfortunately, you have the steep task of following that with the March treasurer's report. So
So in the packet tonight is the March Treasurers Report, and I had slides, but that's okay. So it marks the end of the first quarter of 2025. Just quickly, I wanted to go through the top 6 revenues that we have. Property tax, we received about $354,000 from Cook County. Sales tax was about $374,000 for December sales, which was a 7.1% decrease over 2023. As we ended the year, some of these revenues come in there for 2024, some are for 2025, but they're lower than we've been expecting. State income tax about $219,000, which was a 2.3% decrease. Ambulance billing was up. That was $151,000, 93% increase. It's kind of a roller coaster. It depends on when things come in, payments come in. Local use tax was about $93,000, a 2.3% decrease. And then finally, our natural gas use tax that was instituted at the end of last year was about $86,000 for February natural gas usage. So it's coming in as we were hoping.
Natural gas, we're caught up now with that billing error that they originally gave us. We're back.
Yes, yes, we're past that. And it seems to be, it's not starkly different than what we had thought. So far, so good. And now we're keeping track of the number of therms that they're billing. So we'll make sure and monitor that and be able to look back a little bit. Again, for food and beverage, the top 10 food and beverage retailers are now a mix of restaurants and retailers, like we mentioned before, such as Linford and Montrose Market, and they account for 43% of the tax. As I mentioned a little bit, the economy-driven tax collections are down as we end the first quarter. And will this trend continue? And we're always monitoring this. We're kind of keeping an eye on this. We met with the Finance Planning Committee, just kind of, sending that out there that we are aware. The global economy, the local economy, the nation is kind of scary sometimes, but so far we're continuing on. The audit is complete with no audit adjustments of our books. We're only waiting for our pension and OPEB actuarial reports so we can close out, completely close out the books. But the auditors have the reports. They're going over it, reviewing, doing their internal review, and we will have that on the agenda at the second meeting in June. And at the end of 2024, general fund balance is $10,785,925, or exactly 45% of our 2025 budget expenditures. So we're right at our target. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Tom?
No.
Seeing none, thank you. We're in that monitor and adjust period. So while we're seeing revenues slightly below projections, I think it's early in the year still to find out, and we'll have to balance that. The nice thing is we do have reserves, so that way we don't have to cut immediately. We can kind of make sure we tread carefully with all that. Another big thing is since last meeting, there was a number of grants that we were applying for that were backed by FEMA regarding stormwater management. Those have been officially closed and not available anymore due to changes in the administration's policies. And so that would have been a couple $1 million that would have been helpful for projects. So, but as I like to say, things are cyclical. So what's not here today will be here tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow's a day and not a couple of years. So we'll see. But that's why the finance planning is doing some great work, and we'll have some more things for the board to consider later on. So thank you so much. Continuing on with our agenda, we'll move on to unfinished business. First, we have the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, or non-controversial in nature, and will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no discussion of these items unless removed from the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda tonight? Record show none. Tonight we have presentation and approval of the village board minutes of April 14th, 2025. Authorize the village administrator to approve the purchase of a backup and data recovery solution for the village's information technology network in the amount of $44,050.81 from MNJ. Pass an ordinance declaring surplus certain personnel property of the Village of Roselle, Illinois, and adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the payment to Hawkins Incorporated for the purchase of chemicals in the amount not to exceed $46,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Trejo.
Aye.
Trustee Domke.
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa.
Aye.
Trustee Della Penna.
Aye.
Trustee Forsythe.
Aye.
Trustee Burkowski.
Aye.
And that motion carries. We'll continue on with our other unfinished items. We have nothing under Development Engineering Services tonight, Administration, Fire, or Police, but Public Works. Trustee Trejo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the design build services for the Den Lift Station improvements between the Village of Roselle and Baxter and Woodman Buller Construction LLC in the amount of $815,128.00.
There's a second.
Second.
Any discussions? Seeing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Trejo.
Aye.
Trustee Della Penna.
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa.
Aye.
Trustee Domke.
Aye.
Trustee Forsythe.
Aye.
Trustee Burkowski.
Aye.
That motion carries.
All, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Move to Finance. Trustee Forsythe.
Thank you, Mayor Pileski. I would like to move approval of the accounts payable list for April 28th, 2025 in the amount of $1,438,564.09.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Forsythe.
Aye.
Trejo.
Aye.
Trustee Domke.
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa.
Aye.
Trustee Burkowski.
Aye.
Trustee Della Penna.
Aye.
That motion carries.
And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to new business. And so tonight we have a presentation regarding the 2025 special events schedule from our Chief of Police, Rob Barretto. How appropriate, as we just had the kickoff of the summer season with Bachfest this last weekend. So
Absolutely. Mayor, Board of Trustees, welcome to our 2025 special events season. We kicked it off with Bachfest. I wanted to reiterate what Trustee Domke said. It went really well. DC Beta was there, said that it was well attended. And I expect it to continue to grow every year. So what we wanted to do is, as we're moving into our special events season, we wanted to give you an overview of the staffing and resources that go into planning and managing Roselle's special events. So the annual special event calendar generally stays the same every year for traditional events that we have. Rose Fest, we have the Rose Parade, the Taste of Roselle. We also have community groups that organize events, 5Ks, the Rotary Trunk or Treat, Polypalooza, which is after 2 years of hiatus, is coming back to Roselle, which is going to be great. They require village services, and some of these we anticipate every year. So we have a plan, and then others are new to our calendar. For instance, the number of special events generally stays the same, but this year we added the French Market. So the French Market runs from June 4th to August 27th, and it adds 13 additional days that village services are required. So I wanted to talk about event planning and management and what our goals are for every event. So there can be no greater compliment to us that people come into Roselle and they enjoy the event and they have no idea all the work that went into it. They have no idea the security measures that we have planned and the things that we put up to make sure that the event goes off without a hitch. So some things we do is ensure the health and safety, as I said, of each event goer. We collaborate across departments and we start early. We start way before the event. We also, during the event, when it's happening, we're working together. And then after the event, as we're closing down the event, we collaborate as a group, as staff, constantly. We work as a team, like I said, on all aspects. And then we meet with the event organizers early and tell them exactly what we need to do to put this event on so that they understand what we're looking for as a village and how their event can be successful. It's important that we monitor the use of our village resources and staffing levels to ensure operational sustainability. What that means is we have to be able to run an event and also answer 911 calls from the fire department and the police department at the same time the event's going on. From the public works standpoint, they need to be able to service everything that goes on with that event. But on top of that, if a tree goes down on Roselle Road, they need to have staff to be able to go and clear that. If they have a water main break, they need to do that. So we have to plan and make sure that we can handle both of those things so that people have no idea how much is going on in town. So when do we decide when village services are required? So things like if the event's going to use our public streets, our right of way or our sidewalks, if we have street closures, if there's traffic control or parking restrictions, if there's distributing or selling alcohol, if we have additional garbage removal, if we got to put down extra receptacles and pick them up, or if emergency medical services like police and fire protection is needed. And then finally, if there is going to be an auditory or visual impact to the area greater than normal, these are things that may have village services. We're going to have to do what's going to be called like an IAP. So from the police department standpoint, we assign a sergeant to run the event. The sergeant will be working. If the sergeant is off that weekend, then what the sergeant will do is they'll be running the event. So the sergeant will hold planning meetings with the event organizers and village employees. And then they'll review the actor action report from the year before. So what you always do is at the end of an event, you kind of put together, I call it like a note to your future self. Like, hey, if I'm going to run this event next year, what could I do to make it easier? What lessons have I learned? We determine the police department staffing and then volunteers. We can't run these events without our volunteers. So from the fire department standpoint, they use their REMAs, and then we use our VIPs, which are volunteers and police service. As I mentioned, that incident action plan, the things that the incident action plan, it's comprehensive. It's like the charter that we use to guide us. It has detailed assignments for employees and volunteers. It's so granular that what it'll do is it'll have a person's name. It'll have the squad that they're in. It'll have what they're doing and where they're located. Each of those things is listed. And as you can imagine, the document for the Rose Parade is like this thick. I mean, it's all in there. We have maps in there on that IAP that includes the detours and the road closures. And think of the IAP, what happens is we hand them out at a roll call that we do before the event, and then everyone gets a copy. And you keep that with you so that if something happens, you can look through there and be like, hey, you know what, actually, we have somebody that's assigned here, and this is what they're supposed to be doing, and this is the car. And that's what that is. That's what that does. What equipment is needed is put in that IAP. We may need a drone that stays up above the crowd, like in 4th of July, for a significant period of time. Or we will have a drone, like in the Rose Parade, that goes through and just makes sure the tops of buildings are all buttoned up and everything is safe. That's in the IAP. And also, what vehicles are we going to use? You have to find vehicles. We plan, and this is for the fire department, we'll get into that in a minute, but they plan for medical and adverse weather events. What's going to happen and what are we going to do if those things occur? And then all of this is logged. All of the meetings, all of the interdepartmental requests is all logged in the IAP. And then, of course, the police department manages security at the event. So the fire department's participation in the IAP goes with the medical plan, as I mentioned. How many people do they need there? How many pieces of equipment do they need there? And where do they stage them? Think about the 4th of July event, right? The 4th of July, you have a bunch of fire department equipment parked on Bryn Mawr because of what they have to deal with and how far they are away from the station, right? Well, Taste of Roselle, it's less because they're right here. So that all has to be worked out and has to be thought through. They have to have a severe weather plan. If something happens, where are we going to put all these people that are in the event? How can we get them out of here safely? 10 years ago, when we had that storm rip through here and then it ended up hitting Wooddale, we were able to keep all of our people safe. And then they coordinate their REMA volunteers with us for the volunteers. And then something significant they do that we don't think about sometimes is they do inspections on the tents to make sure they're secured properly, do inspections for the food trucks to make sure that the generators are all set up properly. They have to make sure that the electrical and everything else is up to code. Very, very important. And they have to do that for each and every one of those food trucks, each and every one of those tents. Public Works actually is one of the most important because they put up the barricades. And if you're not putting up barricades to keep the cars out, you're not going to be doing a Taste of Roselle, right? So Public Works has to make sure that the road closures are set up, and they have to put the barricades up and take it down, and they have to organize all that stuff. And before any of this happens, the Village Hall has a significant piece of this because they have to handle the special event permit review. Make sure that it's done properly, that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. They have to ensure construction projects don't conflict with what's happening. For instance, IDOT, they're delaying the resurfacing of Roselle Road so that we can put the parade down Irving, right? That's a big deal. They have to process the permit payments, ensure vendors remit the taxes. And then also, which is really big, because we're bringing everything downtown, which is terrific, but if they can secure sponsorships, the more we do down here, the more the word is going to get out, the more sponsorships we can do so that we can offset some of the costs. And then finally, the special event marketing. How are we bringing people here? Village Hall handles all of it. So then running special events. How much manpower is required? What do we need to do to run the event successfully? Well, more events require more overtime hours. The way it works from the police department standpoint is if it's your off weekend, you're going to work the event. So we put up a list and we say, hey, listen, we have we have the Lions Carnival or the Rose Fest that's going to happen, and I need X number of officers. If people, you can volunteer and sign up, but if you don't sign up, this is the police department. So you get a call and you get ordered in because you don't have a choice. You're working that event. That's the way that works. And that's what we sign up for. Significantly, volunteers contribute to these events. As you see these hours and what's going on, volunteers year over year, they put lots of hours in. It's almost impossible to run these events without volunteers, and it's all free labor. These are citizens of Roselle who love our town, who come out and volunteer to work traffic points, to actually work the police tent, work the fire tent, things like that. Scheduling. So the schedule can disrupt the officers' regular, daily shifts. You got night shift, you got day shift officers. If you're a night shift officer and you're ordered in for an early morning holiday day shift event, you're going to have to do a quick turnaround. You may be just going to bed at 6 in the morning, but you got to get up at 6 in the morning to come in. So it offsets and kind of messes with their regular schedule, their circadian rhythms. Think about Public Works and the event setup and takedown. Public Works got to come out and make sure all of that stuff is set up. And then when it's all over and everybody is safely home, they got to take it all down. So that's their staff coming in early and staying late as well. And then finally, as I mentioned, holiday staffing. If we have something on a holiday, we have officers that are getting ordered in and they got to come in on that holiday. And then from the fire department and the police department standpoint, we're at a skeleton crew because people take off on the holidays, right? So you're always at your minimums on your holidays. And remember what I had said at the outset is you have to ensure that you can run the event and also handle any calls that come in, because the town should not know that we have to handle both events. They should be able to go to sleep at night and not even have to worry about it, and they don't. So then upgrading our protection equipment. So the fire department did a terrific job. They wrote a grant and got us, well, those things in the upper right, the blue things, are called Meridian barriers. Those are on the trailer. Ours are orange, which I think looks way better than the blue. But anyway, so the Meridian barriers, those will stop a car. That is a huge deal. If you remember the NOLA massacre where that guy hit all those people in that F-150, they didn't have their barriers there because they're getting painted for the Super Bowl. Those things will stop a car. What we used to do was type 3s, which is in the upper right, but with those 3 crossbars right there. Those actually are visible and make people stop if they are so inclined to stop, but you can go right through them. So we're able to use those barriers, right? But that takes a lot more time to set up than just what we call type 3. So our other time considerations, like I said, some things for you to think about how we run these. We review the IAP and the event permits, right? We meet with event organizers. We market the special events, and then we inspect event sites. All of that stuff goes in. When we put a special event on a Roselle, all of that stuff needs to happen. So we've been improving every year. Staff improves and tries to find a better way to do it. When we knew we were bringing most things downtown, we said, hey, instead of doing these every year and trying to come up with, okay, if we have this event, where should we put the barricades? If we have this event, where should we put them? We came up with a small, medium, and large template. What that does is if you're an organizer, you come in and we say, hey, listen, this is what we have. These are our 3, how big is your event going to be? These are our 3 templates. Very simply, pretty much in general, the small template uses 1 band shell, medium template uses 2, and then the large template is our Taste of Roselle. But then what we call is just build a security box around it. Say, okay, here you go. This is what you have. You go ahead and fill this event with all kinds of fun stuff for the town, and then we'll handle the security. But it actually streamlines the whole process. And then finally, the technology that we use, we switched to something called Cloud Permit. So before, everything used to be paper. Cloud Permit is in the cloud, and everything is handled digitally. It can be sent, it can be reviewed, the response to the organizer can all be done digitally, so we don't have to do a lot of phone calls and a lot of paper. Paper gets lost. So we're always getting better. We're always improving what we do, but I wanted to take this time, thank you very much for allowing me to take this time to let all of you know what it takes for us to put on an event year over year. And I'd be willing to answer any questions, and if I can't answer them, I have my other department heads that are here ready, willing, and able to.
Thank you so much. I know this has been a topic that has come up as we expanded the schedule, but also we have to be realistic about how we balance things. And I know Trustee Domke, you brought up a number of times, how can we help support our local organizations with costs in this. And so I think this helps set the stage so everyone's educated and understands all the things that we are doing behind the scenes before we kind of officially set any policy. So are there any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Domke?
You know, it's kind of like we're building it for them to come. And then when they come, we go, oh my gosh, we got a lot of things to do. So you're not advocating that we should limit what we're doing. You're just telling us how much effort it takes to put on an event, right?
Yeah, so as we add events downtown, what I wanted everyone to know was.
It will come because it's a beautiful place to have an event.
Yeah, then probably the
Town
finest
square
public
that we just
safety in
built.
Northwest DuPage County also. So what I'm saying is, we have these events that occur. I wanted everybody to know what it takes to put them on.
Mhm.
This is what we have to do. What's good is you guys show up and you enjoy the event. And so behind the scenes for us, we're putting everything on, making sure everything goes seamless. The good thing is that nobody realizes that. That's what we like, is I have the opportunity then to say, hey, listen, this is what happens in an event, and this is what it takes for us to put on.
Well, and not only that, but as a board, we've invested in the things that are required from the different instances that have happened in the area, like Highland Park, and you've got a drone because of that. You've got these barriers because of that. So we're always tooling up for hopefully, what doesn't happen. So, I mean, I think that we've positioned the village in the right way to have events. And this kind of strategy of keeping safe. I mean, you're right, the Bachfest parade felt very safe. Because everywhere we looked, there was no ingress or egress. So,
And I think the counterbalance, I would just say, and this is no disrespect, but then we have organizations saying, we need you to give us a discount, right? And so that comes at a cost that the board has to decide how much, or do you discount that service? Because we have invested in ways to reduce those costs, but there are some things that we know are always going to exist, right? And so I think that's something just for the board to start to chew on, so that way as we have that, we want these events to happen, but they do have an intrinsic cost. And
towns do have like a tourism kind of budget, and you would think that having these events would bring at least local tourists to Roselle.
Now that you brought it up, Mr. Mayor, what do you think the percentage is that we actually do get reimbursed of the cost now, and knowing that a lot of these groups are nonprofit?
I don't
Estimate.
know if Tom or Rob can speak to that at this point in time. That'd be something we'd have to go back and look. I know what we have done internally is we've always tried to be respectful and acknowledging all the fantastic things that these organizations do. And so what we have done to make sure that we were comfortable with any discounts or write-offs we would do on the labor that was incurred, we always focused on, is this a village-sponsored event or not? And meaning, was the village, listed and given the benefits of being a partner in that organization's event or not? And if we were, that was kind of the justification to provide them some relief, because we are a partnering organization. So like they would ask for sponsors to write a check, we don't write a check, we simply charge less and to acknowledge that kind of a service that's being provided in that sense. But we would probably need staff to pull those numbers and whatnot. I think the
I'm
bigger
not-
thing is we've always, and I love our town. I think our sweet spot though is non-holiday events, because we're not competing with anyone else. We can have the market share and really push those events high. Those are a lot easier for us to absorb because you're taking out other elements that reduce staffing capacities. Holidays are very difficult events. Those are few and far between at this point, but those are different event considerations where we're already lower on staffing. And so to pick up an event on a proper holiday that now puts into other public safety concerns or issues potentially into play that can be difficult beyond just the cost.
I'm not advocating any big drastic changes in how it's done. I'd just be curious as to what it is and what percentage we're getting paid.
Yeah, I think that's something that staff can provide, so. Trustee Trejo.
I was just gonna say, are there any opportunities to use either like other towns' police, or potentially like, let's just say for holiday events or the like? I know there's some contractual things that need to go through, but like even private security, to limit the scope of what they do or what they help out with.
Yeah, so I'll take the last one first. So the issue you have with private security is it's still, if it happens in Roselle, we're still responsible for it. So you have private security, they have they have a contract, but if something happens, what's the quality of the people that are coming in? I know that our people and our volunteers are trained by us and there's some of the best people in DuPage County. So I know that they're gonna do, what they need to do and, keep the town safe.
And just for clarity, more so of a blend. So if let's just say there was a holiday event and we asked like our police officers if they wanted to work that event and they didn't want to, or we could only get like, let's say we needed 6 people and like 3 were willing to do it, and then we supplemented it with like 3 private people that worked with them, or like a known entity, if you will, or other police departments from Glendale Heights, Itasca, or whatever, if we threw it out there to get the officers from that, since I know you guys work with them a lot as well.
Yeah, so there is a plan through Merit where you can ask for assistance from other police departments. The issue is you don't know if you're gonna get anybody. So they put it out and you end up still, we tried this a couple years ago, and we ended up still ordering our people in because people didn't take it. Because just normally, our event season goes the same as everyone else's event season. So everybody, it's fine if, if your house is on fire, everybody helps. But if everyone's house on fire, then everybody wants to take care of their own. So that's the issue that happens with that. And like I said, with security, outside security, I'm always uncomfortable to add outside security because you don't know who they're gonna send. And we still have to, lack of a better term, we still have to police them to make sure they're doing their job.
Sometimes it might be more work for you guys.
It depends on who they send us. So like, yeah, it could be a big name company that sends it to, sends us, but you don't know. That's the reason why I like to use our people.
I'd also venture to say, from a liability perspective, we hold all the liability and no real disciplinary action that we can take on that individual should they act out of line. So
It's absolutely ours. It's Roselle, happened in Roselle. We're responsible for everything that they do.
Well, David, some of the nonprofits have to have insurance though, right? We do have insurance.
correct, but I think we're talking about if we were to have supplement our leasing with private security, that we would be responsible because they are our contractual people that we brought in. And so if they caused an issue and they did something, that's on us.
It was. Yeah.
Still us. Doesn't matter that they're private security hired.
I know during the parade, we made sure that we were insured for a parade. We were.
Yeah, sure. So the insurance works, but to pay something monetary. But if somebody who is contractual does something that they should not have done, the insurance pays, but it's still our black eye. So I'm always going to protect the reputation of the village and the police department. And so I like to have our people because I know our people and I have the ability to control.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
Other villages may have different resources to handle this, but is this generally what like Bloomingdale, or they all have a real set plan on how to handle these different events?
Yeah, IAPs are generally pretty standard. I would say ours is the best. But anyway, I would say that IAPs are generally across all police departments. Everyone does them if they're doing it right. But I don't know necessarily what Bloomingdale does as far as IAPs, but it's an industry standard.
I think one thing we lacked, but now we have, is we didn't have a ability to have a confined space that was easier to shut down. And the plaza porch combination allows us a more easy, readily controlled environment that we can host events in that makes that a little bit easier. I think there's the example that comes up with the Rose Fest being at the Metro Station. There's a lot of externalities you have to plan around. Here, it's a controlled, it's an engineered controlled environment, right? People feel safe. If I think about Bloomingdale, they have the Old Town Square, controlled access points. It's a very confined area that is flexible, right? And so I think that's probably, planning, I would echo, I think we do a fantastic job. Other communities, they have to make considerations to cut things. I mean, Itasca cut their 4th of July celebration, for this year at least. But I think we had some physical limitations that we've kind of dealt with some of the upgrades that we did that should make this a little bit easier for us to host. So,
Well, and to that point, you're going to get a nice template this summer, for how it works with using the town square or the Meadow Plaza with the Rose Fest and even the French Market. And because of that, you're going to get a lot of interested groups that haven't come before you yet.
Well, I see us, as we do this and we perfect this, I see as we move forward, we're going to do this with Meridian barriers. We're going to set it up. We built a very good security box, but I also see us working to set up the landscaping and add more security as we do it, just naturally. So I see us doing that year over year as we do our after action report and say, hey, this is great, but actually, what to make it better? And then, I would come before you again and say, hey, listen, this is how I think this would make it better. We need to adjust this, or we need to move this here. And just so that it gets even more safe because we're always going to look at it and try and make it even better.
Any other comments or questions? I think this is a prelude for, we're gonna have a really fun summer, but we're gonna learn a whole lot. And that means there will probably be some things, whether it's from a staffing perspective, the more events we have, we can only cover so many things. So that might mean we need to hire staff. We might need to buy additional equipment. So that way the board has this in their mind as we get through this. So by the end of this, we can make the right decision or understand there's trade-offs, right? We can host every event, but there is a cost to the village that we have to support in that regard. So appreciate it.
Time.
Thank you. We'll continue on with our agenda. We do have a second opportunity for village board public comment. Is there any additional comments for the board at this time? Let the record show none. Under other business for discussion only. So from the HOA conversation, I just wanted to get some feedback from staff before I open it up to the board. From a public works perspective, could Director Karen just speak to, a rough number? Do we know how many streets kind of fall in this private maintenance perspective, whether it's HOA or other agreements?
Sure, we have multiple HOAs that fall under this. I believe it's somewhere in the 30s, either cul-de-sacs or private locations that we do not plow or salt. And from an operational standpoint, if it's privately plowed, it may not be plowed during the time frame in which our staff is out, which would then require our staff to go back out either during different operational times to maintain and salt those areas.
And then Chief Barretto, as far as the engine braking and other kind of limitations or concerns about regulations or enforcement on Rosa Road, is there anything you could kind of add to that?
Yeah, so it's a county road. I can look into it, but generally as a county road, they would be the ones that would determine whether or not you can do engine braking or, put signs up for excessive engine braking on the county road. So I can get back to the board on that.
So with that being said, I want to just open up for the board again. We're not here to make final action or really for much, but I want to just get feedback. Is this something the board would like to bring back for future consideration? Or do you just want to continue to partner with them and find opportunities to streamline operations on their end and not reopen that HOA negotiation? So open the floor for any
I
conversation.
don't think I'd reopen them now if there's 30 more of them or 29 more of them.
Other thoughts? I'm getting faces, but I need auditory responses.
Well, you're right, 30 is a lot.
And we literally just had Francesca Court here asking for the same thing, and we said no. So I
They've all
find
been written for many years.
correct.
Say no, not right now, I don't think so.
Okay, I got two not in favor of revisiting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just the sheer number of them, I think it's much to reopen.
I think it's too much.
All right, I've got 4, and I've got 5. So we will, staff's direction is not to, but let's just reach out to them and just help them understand what both parties are responsible for and where we can collaborate or not collaborate on those. So I appreciate the conversation from the board on that. 2 things, just as a reminder to the board, in the report, there is an opportunity with our ADA consultants to do a walk around town to understand what it'd be like for someone with a disability in this town. I will be participating in that. So if you are interested in participating in that as well, we need to schedule a date. Please respond to Administrator Belowski and Assistant Administrator Jonas so that way we can get you guys included on the scheduling for that. There'll be a public meeting notice regardless of whether trustees participate or not. So there'll be an opportunity for the public to also join us to kind of do the simulation, if you will, to speak to understand how those obstructions can create an issue for someone with a disability. And then I'd also just invite the board to please stay after the meeting so we can record a message in honor of Public Service Recognition Week, so we can recognize our employees and send them a well wishes. So that's all I had under other business. Is there anything else under other business for any trustee tonight?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions?